Sorry, we don't have a camera shot of the room. The camera's been taken, not stolen, just taken to another room. And Randula's here doing the sharing the chanting book. That's what she's doing. And Mariano sitting in the corner there, and Monique, that's right, sitting in the other corner. So this evening we're going to start by chanting the dedication of offerings in Pali, which Randula will share with you, because sometimes people wonder why in Pali. And I was talking to Randula on the way here how the connecting with the quality of sound, just to let go and enjoy the sound of the chanting. Doesn't matter that you don't understand it, or if you don't understand. If you do understand, that's nice, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. You can still enjoy that chanting. And if you do want to understand, you've got the English on the next page if you've got the chanting book, not shared on the screen now. I'll start by lighting the candles. What's on page 80? Yoso Bhagava Arahant Samma Sambuddho Swakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yasa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Dhammayam Bhagavantam Sadhammang Sasangham Imehi Sakkarehi Yataraham Aropitehi Abhipujayam Sadhuno Bhante Bhagava Suchira Parinibbutopi Pachima Janatanukampamanasam Ime Sakkare Dukkatapanna Karabhute Patiganhatu Amhakam Digaratam Hitaya Sukhaya Arahant Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamman Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. So now we're going to chant the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. Which is on page 128. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sangham saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranang gacchami. Anatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not good. Kamesu michachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Saramarayamachat pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness. Imani pancha sikkhapadani silena sugating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nikuting yanti tasma silam visodhaye. These are the 5 precepts. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore let virtue be purified. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So this evening, we're going to focus on how to bring dukkha to an end. We often think of meditation as focusing. We use that terminology. But when I use the word focus, what I mean is the sense of direction, the purpose, if you like. Why do we meditate? Buddhist meditation is about understanding dukkha and bringing it to an end. Dukkha is usually translated as suffering or stress. But it's the kind of suffering and stress that we create. We can't escape painful bodily feelings. We can't avoid painful emotions arising in the mind. But we don't need to create suffering out of them. We don't need to compound them with another layer of suffering. It's the same with our meditation. We perhaps have an idea of what I want to get out of my meditation practice, or that I've come to learn to meditate so that I can get rid of something I don't like. Become somebody different from the way I am. And these are all desires of the mind, are all causes of dukkha. Because when we don't get rid of what we don't like, and when we don't attain what we do like, we're creating suffering. We're creating the suffering simply by buying in to that it's not good enough feeling. It shouldn't be like this. And so the meditation I'm encouraging you to do is to investigate that not good enough feeling, how it arises, and the possibility of letting it go. And discovering what happens next. What happens when we let go of the grasping mind, of it not being good enough the way it is. So as we straighten the posture, establishing an upright and relaxed posture, trying to tease out the point of balance, then however it is, are we creating suffering out of it? Are we compounding the painful body with another layer of suffering because it shouldn't be like this? Is it possible to let go and simply be present with the upright posture? We might experience many physical sensations. The body inevitably feels discomfort, pain, restlessness. Can you notice if you're resistant to that, wanting to change it? Or can you bear with it? Just accept it as it is. And if you do, what happens next? How's that feel? The result of letting go is it's the same taste. Whatever it is we let go of, the taste of freedom. Whatever meditation object we choose, if we have a meditation object that we're used to following, might be the breath. Is it just like this, or should it be different? Is it okay? Is it good enough? Whatever we experience as a result of that practice that we call meditation, are we creating suffering out of it? And if we are, when we do, how's that happen? What's that about? It's the same sign. It's the underlying cause. This shouldn't be this way. It's not good enough. We don't want, or we're not getting what we do want. This sense of unsatisfactoriness we call dukkha. If we experience a mind state that we don't like, we come creating suffering. How is that arising? It's the same common theme. It shouldn't be like this. I'm not good enough. I'm not getting what I want. Calm mind. I want a calm mind. My mind's restless. Where's that suffering coming from? Oh, yes, there it is again. That common theme, what we call tanha, craving. It shouldn't be like this. I want it to be different. And that opportunity arises to let go. So our meditation theme today could be about just noticing the opportunity that arises for us to let go. And when that presents itself, to just experiment with letting go and seeing what happens. Not pushing anything away, trying to get rid of anything. Because letting go is often bearing with things as they are. Being willing to accept and not to interfere. Not trying to fix anything. Just accepting things as they are. That is letting go. And seeing what happens. As we come towards the end of our meditation, see if you can flow through any judgmental thoughts that arise around how it should have been, how it wasn't, how we wanted this and we wanted to get rid of that. Any such thoughts that arise. See if the mind can just flow through the center of them, not holding any opinion about how it should or shouldn't have been. Letting it go. Letting it be. However it is, it's how it should be. It's good enough. Sometimes our meditation can feel like we're pushing a boulder up a hill and get to the end and stop, and it's a release, a freedom. When the bell goes, think, why did we do that? Why did we make it into such hard work? From the beginning, we can relax and not create suffering out of this. Right at the end, we can still let go. The opportunity arises. We realize it never comes to an end. That meditation practice doesn't start and finish. That's just a mental creation. So the question for this evening is, why do we find it so difficult to let go? I did a series of talks. The first one was about dukkha, admitting it hurts, a willingness to understand, to let dukkha in, that stress, suffering, whatever we call it. If we can't admit it hurts, we can't begin to understand. We have to let go of our denial. It can take a long time. As we came to Buddhism to become wise, we didn't come to understand suffering. But the Buddha points to her first noble truth. Understanding suffering is where we begin. letting it in, admitting it hurts. Being willing to turn our attention towards suffering instead of running away from it. When we turn our attention towards suffering, we are faced with how is it that we create it. Because the Buddha is not pointing to the inevitable suffering that we cannot avoid. So we're born into the human condition. The human condition is a painful experience, physically, mentally. We're very vulnerable to contact with so hard and abrasive world. And we're vulnerable. If we're going to be fully human, how could it be otherwise? We need to experience that. We need to let it in. But where is it coming from? Where's that? That's the dukkha that we create, that we add to the inevitable suffering that we experience. Where does that come from? My knee hurts. So what's that about? Yes, there's a pain in my knee, but what is this process of identification that creates the resistance to my knee hurting? I want it to be otherwise. That's the second noble truth. It shouldn't be like this. It's not fair. If we're in a meditation retreat, it's common enough to look around and we think everyone else is sitting so still and so comfortable, and I'm in such a mess. My body's hurting, my mind's all over the place. And there's becoming quite resistant. We can be very resistant to our experience and create suffering. But that's something that we're adding, isn't it? It's the experience of sitting, being uncomfortable, restless, is just discomfort and restlessness. Suffering is the suffering of dukkha is something we're adding out of our resistance. The grasping mind, the tanha, which is craving, and that's wanting things, desiring, sense desire, one of the aspects of it. Wanting to experience pleasant things. Wanting to become someone who's happy, successful, other than we are. Wanting to get rid of that, who we are, that we don't like. The creator of suffering, so that when we experience suffering, this dukkha, then we're not failing. But when we train the mind to look at the origin, the cause. Where's this coming from? Rather than despairing that suffering is being created, we're curious as to, through mindfulness, as to, where's the tanha here? What am I resistant to? So we look around, what is it? How am I creating this? There's I don't want that pain in my knee. It's even more than that. If I sit here much longer, I'll never be able to walk again. That thought, And so we think, good, there's the opportunity to look at this. This is how it's manifest, this desire, this tanha, it's manifests in this way. This is what I'm creating suffering, how I'm creating suffering. Let's say it's a thought, I don't want to think this way. I shouldn't be having a mind that's all over the place. My mind should be focused, clear, composed. I should be in control of my thoughts. And it's not like this. So rather than our meditation, the purpose of our meditation is to understand how we create suffering out of this. It isn't. The purpose of our meditation isn't for that not to happen, because that's inevitable. The mind will always find something that's not good enough. We can never be good enough. We'll never be good enough meditators. That's not the point. The point of meditation is to understand that feeling of not good enough. I'm not good enough. If our meditation is successful, that can be one of the biggest problems. If we feel like, oh, I'm really getting somewhere, I'm really attaining something here, my mind's becoming so calm, I'm getting all these wonderful blissful states. That's more of a problem than if my mind's all over the place, I can't focus, I can't do this. That it's easier to see dukkha in the painful than in the pleasant. But if we experience pleasant states, then that grasping mind, the desire to re-experience, the desire to experience even more, because when we investigate, we realize it's never good enough. However good it is, it's never good enough. We're never sure if that's enough. Is that really good enough? Is my mind calm enough? It's never good enough. But it can be harder to see if we're successful. Being a successful meditator is not going to free us from suffering. Because it's not about success and failure. It's about understanding dukkha and the origin of it, how it arises. The dukkha of success and failure. And so then we investigate, where's this second noble truth, the origin of dukkha? So what's the possibility then of letting that go? Because that leads us to the third, the cessation of dukkha, the ending, the freedom that comes from letting go. That's why even if we just let go a little bit and we get a little glimpse of that freedom, that's amazing. We shouldn't think, oh, I only saw freedom a little bit, because that's a pointer, that's a sense of direction. We know where we're heading now. Once we've got that taste of freedom, we know where we're heading. We know our direction of travel. And we won't be fooled by false gods. We'll realize, that's delusion. These false promises that the self can create. Because that's what we discover, that the path, the way to let go, it's not about me letting go and becoming wise. It's about understanding that delusion, the underlying delusion to the grasping mind. The underlying delusion is the attachment to the sense of me and mine. The idea that I could become enlightened is something that we can let go of. The idea that I am or I'm not something. When we see it clearly, we realize, there's that commonality of sense of self behind it, that self-delusion. That's the we can call it the wrong view, if you like. Because when we move on to the Eightfold Path, we're not going to talk about the Eightfold Path, but I'm going to leave that for another somebody else to talk about another time. But the first is right view, isn't it? Right view. We just take right view. What is right view? Right understanding. It's that seeing clearly the self-delusion, seeing through the self-delusion, isn't it? And that's what underpins the Eightfold Path, the willingness to see through the delusion that we buy into over and over again. And we don't have to. You know, yes, we might have bought into it many, many times and over the years, but once we see through that self-delusion, then we've got that kind of, like the light, if you like. There's a little glimpse of that daylight, which we see, there's a door here, if I just push it a little, just gently, it starts to open. And so we discover that freedom's in this direction. We can penetrate, we can investigate and penetrate the self-delusion. There's nothing to destroy, but simply to understand and not be fooled by. We just see it as it is, and it's not like we can get quite confused thinking, okay, so who is going to become enlightened then if it's not me? But then when we understand the self-delusion, we see the delusion that underlies that way of thinking. We can take that sentence and discover it's built on the premise that there is a me that's going to become enlightened. It's an assumption that's built into the sentence. Who's going to become enlightened if it's not me? If you believe, if you buy into then the assumption of self, then you're buying into, you're not going to understand. But if you let go of that underlying assumption, then you realize that sentence doesn't make sense. Who is this me that's going to become enlightened? That doesn't make any sense. It's a self-creation process. It's a mind. The mind created that assumption that we see the world with, that we're coming from. That it's this place we're coming from. That we bring it. What I mean is that the way where we're coming from to understand the world, we're coming from a place of delusion, but it's possible to see through that. So therefore, then we're not coming from that place of delusion. Then it's possible to see the world as it is, rather than through that distortion of that assumption, underlying assumption, which is a creation, a mental creation. There's no substance. It's not a given. It's just an assumption. It's not a truth. It's just an assumption, but it's not one that's ever been challenged. So then this is our opportunity to challenge that assumption by letting go. Every time we let go, we're challenging that assumption. We might be letting go a little bit. And maybe it's just a need thing. It's painful. And just by letting it be, we realize it's fine. There's nothing to run away from. We accepted it as it was. We let go, and that's a feeling, a rush of peace can fill the heart and can fill the body, a relaxation. Just, whew, gosh, that resistance, when that's let go of, it feels like this. And that's a pointer, that's the direction we're heading towards freedom. So, that came about because I stopped identifying with that painful knee as being something that I had to try to get rid of. I had to do something about. I had to control the situation. Instead of trying to control the situation, I just accepted it as it was. That meant letting go, and that is a small thing, yet we know now that it's possible. So when you know it's possible, you can do it again, so that that opportunity, as I said, it comes to us in every moment. It can come to us in meditation, in that the way we approach our attitude towards meditation can be one of investigation, and that's that's where we're heading. That's the point of our investigation, to understand this underlying delusion, the delusion which underlies the grasping mind, and then enables us to let go when we see through it. So I'd like to invite you to offer your reflections and questions around that theme.
Hello, Martin.
Hi, Carola.
Hi, thank you for your thoughts today. It's very helpful. What I find, if I can let go of sort of mental dukkha, is that there's a relief, but then the mind comes back, doesn't like it. wants to sort of embroil me in the dukkha again. So there is a letting go and a kind of peacefulness. And then it's like the mind saying, what's this? I don't agree with this.
Yeah, that's right. And that we actually don't want to be enlightened, do we? This is really, that's what we're saying. It isn't something that's at all attractive to the self delusion. The self doesn't want to be enlightened. The self wants to control the world and have it its own way. It doesn't want to let go.
Yeah, it doesn't want to change.
No, it doesn't. It's comfortable. It wants to find what's familiar. Even if that's like, a worm. I'm not saying a worm has a self. That's speculation. But a worm's comfortable in the ground and it wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It doesn't want to be on the surface. It'll burrow back in to the ground. That's where it wants to be, in the dark. So if whatever we're comfortable with, that's where we want to be. And that's what it's like. We're so that's what conditioning is. So one way of looking at it is over and over again. We have to be willing to walk off the edge of our conditioned world. It takes courage to walk off the edge, because the self-delusion will keep coming back and telling us, no, this isn't a good idea. Surely you don't really mean that. No, you don't. And try and bring us back into that delusion. So over and over again, and that's where saddha comes in. This faith, having developed that self-confidence to step off the edge, knowing that, what's going to keep us, what's going to catch us is Dhamma. The Buddha never taught this for us to create suffering, but to bring it to an end. So when we have that confidence, then we can trust letting go. And we do it over and over, because we discover it only ever leads to freedom. If it's leading to more suffering, then we're not getting it right. In a sense, we're letting go conditionally because we want to get a result. We're not letting go unconditionally.
Well, I suppose we're always a little bit wanting a result.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the conditioned mind. We do it. We won't do it unconditionally. But our surrender is word. I think it's misunderstood. But surrendering, it's a kind of surrender, a willingness to surrender. Yeah, we want to get a result, and we have to surrender to that too. Just to do it anyway. And you've probably seen the T-shirt that says, "Just do it anyway." Something like that. And yeah, we have to do it anyway. That's what mindfulness is, doing it anyway. Because if we have to live in this way of creating conditions, wanting to get a result, that's not really surrender, is it? It's not complete. It's not really letting go. It's letting go conditionally. I let go as long as I get the result I want.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm wondering if there's a sort of paradox here, in the sense that if I say I'm feeling sad about my mother as she comes to the end of her life, that I can, if I think it through in my head, I can let go of the delusion of self suffering. But at the same time as I do that, what I kind of mustn't do is just to throw out all of the dukkha around the experience of suffering. Does that make sense? I've kind of got to do two almost contradictory things at the same time. And part of it is the stuff that's going through my head. And the other bit is to hang on to the dukkha aspect and explore that and try and embody that and feel that and explore all of the nuances around that. Is that somewhere?
So are you saying? Well, it sounds to me that you have to let it all in, haven't you? What else? What can you not do but let it in? I don't know what else you can do.
But isn't some of it deluded thinking on my part by this invention of a self that's maybe feeling sorry for it, maybe feeling sorry for myself in this situation, thinking, poor me, goodness gracious, maybe there's lots of guilt about things I haven't done or things I have done with my mother, all of that kind of stuff.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi. I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, the teaching so completely explained by him. Dhamman Namasami, I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Sangham Namami, I bow to the Sangha. Thank you everyone for joining me this evening. Thank you for everyone online. So, I think it's Nick next week. Yeah, Nick Carroll next week and Randula the week after.